With the release of Tekken 8, I finally found myself becoming a proper Tekken fan after almost 2 years of being in that weird limbo of I like the games, but I wouldn't yet call myself a fan. I've collected all of the mainline games physically, I've played all of them, obviously, beaten all their bosses and done everything the game has to offer, and most importantly for this video, I've sunk my teeth into Tekken's rich lore, more than I have prior. Now, Tekken lore is great, there's so much to it, and so much genuine silly stuff that just comes into play later. 2 bears and a panda know genuine karate, literal dinosaurs and kangaroos are trained fighters, and said dinosaurs and kangaroos are the domino effect that leads to World War III. I'm not even joking about that one. But there is one family that ties back to like 90% of this bad stuff happening, and that is, without further ado, the Mishima family. From Jinpachi Mishima down to Jin Kazama, the Mishima family have been the main focus for the story since the very first game. However, unlike most other fighting games, there is one key difference. That difference is, they're mostly bad guys. The Mishima's actions have influenced damn near every fighter in the series, and very rarely has it been for the better. But I've always had one question that's just been aching me for a while. Which one is the worst? Well, if you've had that same question, then that's the purpose of today's video. We'll be going through each Tekken game and analysing the actions of every alive/active Mishima in that game. We'll be looking at character endings, if the manual shed a bit of light we'll look at that, and anything and everything to see which one was the absolute worst in terms of their actions. We'll also be looking at anything good the Mishimas did, because that might genuinely be what separates them from the top spot. We'll gather up all this information at the end, put it into a nice list, and then see who is the real King of Iron Fist. By King of Iron Fist, I mean genuine atrocity maker. Comment down below who you think is the worst Mishima, and see if you're right at the end. And without further ado, let's begin. Not at Tekken 1, funnily enough. We have to go to pre-Tekken 1. And if that's not just a great sign, I don't know what is. So the Mishima clan has existed for a long time, but the first name that matters to us is Jinpachi Mishima. After the capitalization on military demand during World War II, Jinpachi Mishima was disgusted by the conflict and decided to go a different way. The way of martial arts. Jinpachi fostered the art of Mishima-style fighting karate and taught it to 2 disciples, Kazumi Hachigyo and his dear son, Heihachi Mishima. They even wrote their names in the dojo in the style of Aiagasa, which is a sign of love, so, you know, it seems to have been a nice environment. All around, Jinpachi was a pretty decent guy with some nice morals. He changed his company to focus on something which, you know, isn't warmongering. So you'd think that his son was just, I'm not even gonna hide it, Heihachi Mishima, ladies and gentlemen. Heihachi Mishima, at first, is quite a normal guy. He married Kazumi and had a son called Kazuya. But it all just changed one day when he just decided, yeah man, I'm gonna become an asshole. He was about 30 years old and he's already killed his wife, though I will consider it self-defense. And he also threw his son off a cliff. Now, Tekken 7 justifies this and said he did it because he was scared Kazuya was a devil like his mother. When originally it was just a test of strength. If he was a real Mishima, he would have climbed his way back up. Either way, I don't care. He dropped his 5-year-old son down a cliff. Now, you might be wondering, what happened to his dear dad, Jinpachi? You know, didn't he try to stop this? Well, this one's funny. He did. And he failed. So what did Heihachi do? Trapped him underneath a temple and forced him to starve to death, as the weight of the temple probably crushed him as well. After doing that, Heihachi became head of the Mishima clan and used its vast resources. He renamed it to the Mishima Zaibatsu and used it for just the best reason. The Zaibatsu became the #1 military firm and he became extremely wealthy along with it. He instigated a massive gang war in New York, which led to the death of Leroy Smith's parents and potentially blinded him too. This conflict would last for 50 years until Leroy came back to end it himself. So, great job Heihachi, we're already off to a great start. Over time as well, Heihachi started to search for a pendant. and one man found it. He also found love and ran away with both his lover and the pendant. This rustled Heihachi's jimmies. What did he do? Kill him. This begins Michelle Chang's revenge quest, so again, really nice of him. But what of Heihachi's family? Well, Kazuya survived, thankfully, and Heihachi decided to train him in the art of Mishima style as dear daddy did before him. Along the way, Heihachi also adopted a kid called Li Xiaolang to give Kazuya a brother. No. Li was brought in for one sole reason, to give Kazuya a rival, and was treated just as militantly as Kaz. So you know, forging a brotherly hatred is just another thing Heihachi had going for him. So, to summarize, Jinpachi was pretty okay. He died, but you know, good for him. Heihachi, meanwhile, has patricide, uxoricide, attempted filicide, building up military supplies, back in a gang war, assassination, there's probably more than one, fostering a competitive rivalry to the point his kids just hated each other. And like, you might think, that might not look bad. Yeah, no, it doesn't look bad compared to the rest of what he did, but it's still bad. It's still bad. And, you know, we're not even at Tekken 1 yet. We did one good thing. He adopted a bear, he called it Bear, Kuma, and taught him Mishima style, so you know, it's not all bad guys. You know, it's a bit of decency to it. But with that out the way, we can finally move on to Tekken 1. At long last, we arrive at Tekken 1. 20 years after throwing his son down a cliff, Heihachi announces the King of Iron Fist tournament, inviting fighters from all over the world. One of them being Kazuya. Kazuya is now all grown up, and is ready to get revenge on his father. Just like a true hero, a Jack Series robot was sent with the sole purpose of stopping Kazuya, as Russia had caught wind of his plan to enact a coup d'etat on the world. Surprisingly though, neither Mishima does anything too bad in this game. Kazuya defeats Heihachi and throws him down a ravine, but I'm gonna be honest, he had it coming. And besides, I can't be mad at that smile. So, thankfully, Tekken 1 was not long at all. Kazuya's crimes consist of patricide, which I'm gonna, you know, I think it's justified, and the intention of world coups. And Heihachi for now stays the same. That was a really quick segment, so next up, Tekken 2. Heihachi Mishima is maybe dead. With his death, Kazuya becomes the head of the Mishima Zaibatsu, and instantly just did everything Heihachi did, but worse. Here are some notable things he did. First of all, he kidnapped Russian scientist Dr. Bozgonovich and forced him to experiment on animals like kangaroos, as well as reviving dinosaurs, and experimenting on said revived dinosaurs in order to make them into fighters. I'm still not sure what his plan was, but he did it. And that's all that matters. This caught the ire of a wildlife expert named Jin Kazama, who wanted to stop Kazuya at all costs. He also conquers Hokkaido for his purposes and announces the King of Iron Fist 2 along with it. He also kidnaps Michelle Chang's mother in order to force Michelle's participation in the tournament, and hopefully steal that coveted pendant. Many people jump at the announcement of the King of Iron Fist 2, including a thought-to-be-dead Heihachi Mishima. In the midst of the tournament, Nina Williams attempts to assassinate Kazuya, and completely fails. His response? Surprisingly lax, compared to his father at least. He opted to seal her within a cryosleep chamber created by Dr. Bozgonovich, and when confronted by Jin Kazama, he opts not to kill her. Instead, the two realize there's a bit of chemistry between each other, and they end up having a night together, resulting in someone who will be very, very, very important to this video later. However, that's not too important. What is how the rest of the tournament goes. Heihachi is defeated by Paul Phoenix, but because Paul got stuck in traffic, Heihachi moved forward to fight Kazuya. It's here where we see for the first time, except for this Star Platinum looking fella, Devil Kazuya. Heihachi's suspicions were right, and Kazuya did inherit his mother's gene, the devil saving him from certain death and giving him the strength he needed to defeat Heihachi in the last tournament. Kazuya attempts to draw on that strength once again, but this time it ends in failure. Kazuya is defeated and Heihachi throws his body into a volcano, flying away as it erupts, ensuring Kazuya's fate. So let's summarize. In the 2 years between Tekken 1 and 2, Kazuya increased the Zaibatsu's military strength, kidnapped people and held hostages, kidnapped animals and experimented on them, and threw Nina into cryosleep during Tekken 2. While Heihachi only had filicide. You know what? Good for him. Only one crime done. Good job, Heihachi. God knows it's just not getting better from here. Okay, there's 19 years between Tekken 2 and 3, but I thought we'd just cover it all under Tekken 3. So, Kazuya is dead, so we can ignore him for now, but for a moment, let's talk about Li Qiaolang, Heihachi's adopted son. He's cool, like, I have nothing bad to say about him, but he is a Mishima, technically, so he's just mentioned here. He doesn't actually do anything in this game. It's revealed in Tekken 4 that he's just done. He's just like, not me, not my problem, and takes a back seat and decides to live a happy life. Good for him! Really? That's all. Anyways, back to Heihachi, and oh my god, it just gets worse. Okay, let's talk about the good. Let's set this up. Kuma died of old age, unfortunately, so Heihachi decided to raise their kid in the same way. He became the closest Finn Heihachi had to a son. You know, apart from his 2 sons that we know of so far. He also found a girl named Ling Xiaoyu, who had snuck onto one of his many ships, defeating many of his men in the process. He dreamed of making a glorious theme park for the world to enjoy, and Heihachi, who was amused by this prospect, agreed to take her in. He was enrolled into Mishima Polytechnical, a school he created, and was even given a panda, who is now her personal best friend as well as a bodyguard, who also knows Mishima style, because why not? So that's the good. Let's move on to the bad. First off, with the possession of the Zaibatsu returning to Heihachi, he had access to the sleeping Nina Williams, as well as her sister Anna, who volunteered to join her sister in cryosleep. Heihachi ordered the extraction of a sleeping woman's eggs, created genetically enhanced children with them, all of whom went on to die save for one. During this time gap as well, Heihachi developed the Tekken Force, a private army used to carry out his bidding. It would go out for goodwill events such as going out to assist people in different parts of the world. However, there was an ulterior motive to this, which I'm sure no one at all could have predicted. Heihachi was searching for a way to gain more power and live for longer, and in that effort, he found and unleashed an ancient evil, Ogre. Ogre thrived off strong fighters, and off he went to kill any and all strong fighters for his own game, much to Heihachi's interest. These fighters most likely included a large amount of the Tekken 1 and 2 fighters that were still alive and active, but the ones we do know are Taekwondo master Baek Dusan, who was put into a coma for years, Mexican wrestler King, who was killed, and Jin Kazama, who he rendered comatose for years. This led to her 15-year-old son believing she was dead, and opting to seek out his grandfather, Heihachi Mishima. His name? Jin Kazama. The son of both Kazuya Mishima and Jin Kazama, Jin sought out Heihachi, and upon finding him, the old man decided to train Jin as a decoy to lure Ogre. 4 years later, it was time for the King of Iron Fist Tournament 3, but not before, once again, kidnapping the Qiang. This time, Michelle, in hopes that he'll get her pendant to awaken Ogre, which had fallen into the hands of her daughter, Julia Qiang. During this tournament, surprisingly, there's no sense of foul play really. Jin defeats True Ogre and avenges his dearly departed mother. Heihachi decides to congratulate by... He's just so supportive. But like his father before him though, the Devil Gene kept him alive and unleashed itself. Devil Jin eliminated the surrounding soldiers and assaulted Heihachi before disappearing into the night sky. Heihachi left stunned and probably scared as well.
The King of Iron Fist Tournament. Enter the...
So let's summarize once more. Fresh-faced Jin Kazama did nothing wrong. Good start, really. Heihachi, however, has a lot. Highly unethical human experimentation, sicking a mass murderer on the world and leading to the deaths and injuries of many fighters, setting the catalyst for his grandson Jin Kazama's journey, just trust me on this one, and shooting said grandson clean in the head. Kazuya also gets an entry too, a count of murder as Eddie's ending reveals that Kazuya is responsible for the death of Eddie's father. Congratulations Kazuya, you're not in the game and you still found a way to get an entry on this list. With that done though, and skipping tag tournament because it's non-canon, it's a great game though, we are now onwards to the next game and the first of the PS2 games, Tekken 4. Heihachi collected the samples of Ogre that he could, yet he couldn't achieve his goal of power akin to that of Kazuya's Devil. However, he had heard of a company by the name of G Corporation, who had been making strides on biogenetics research. Heihachi, learning of this, raids one of the facilities, stealing data which could have been used to restore the forests that were home to the Changs. Great start. Unfortunately though, what he needed was the Devil Gene, which was lost to him for the moment. Jin Kazama was nowhere to be found and Kazuya was long dead, or so he thought. Acting on some rumours, Heihachi decided to raid another G Corporation office. And upon doing so, he learned something harrowing. Kazuya Mishima was alive. Presumed dead 20 years ago, G Corp found and revived Kazuya. Kazuya took this opportunity to learn more about his Devil Gene and how to control it. He fought back against the Tekken Force troops and declared to Heihachi, Heihachi knew what he had to do. He organised the King of Iron Fist tournament to lure out Kazuya and Jin. Kazuya took this bait knowingly, ready to do what needed to be done. As for Jin, however, he was training in Australia. He shifted from the Mishima style to traditional karate. Again, pretty tame compared to his dad and granddad. He grew to despise everything about the Mishimas, including his own demonic blood that ran in his veins. In fact, he was even willing to warn Xiao Yu of the Zaibatsu's treachery, knowing her close relationship with Heihachi. When news of the tournament arrived to Jin, he knew that it was now or never to get his revenge on the Mishimas. Even Lee hears about this and enters the tournament under the pseudonym Violet. He's not too important to the story, but hey, I like him, so he gets a mention. The tournament proceeds as normal. Kazuya beats Lee and insults him, which, while a dick move, isn't necessarily evil. As for the semi-finals, Kazuya finds himself pitted against Jin Kazama. However, Jin didn't show for any reason, which just made Kazuya move on to the next round by default. Why not? Oh, it's quite simple. Heihachi ordered the Tekken Force to capture Jin, and if this piece of art is anything to go by, probably wasn't as simple as a nice request. What happened to him? We'll find out soon. Kazuya makes it to the finals, him and Heihachi reuniting, and what better thing to do to mark their reunion after 20 years, but fight each other. Heihachi wins, defeating Kazuya but obliging by his request, taking him to see his son. Heihachi brings Kazuya to Honmaru Temple, and shows him a chained up Jin. Kazuya's devil form takes over, but thanks to his time with G Corporation, Kazuya reins it in and merges himself with the power of the devil. He takes glee in seeing Jin, informing us, and Heihachi, that he carries half of Kazuya's devil, which fled into him after his near-death experience in Tekken 2. Kazuya is now ready to finally take the devil's power back, not really caring what happened to his son in the process. At this moment, Jin wakes up, absolutely furious. He rushes to Kazuya, blaming him for the blood he oh so despised, ready to defeat him. Jin is not able to just defeat Kazuya. He also defeats Heihachi as well, who attempts to seize on the moment to get both of the devil's powers. Jin's wings blossom as he's about to deal the final blow to Heihachi, but surprisingly, again, Jin spares both of the Mishima men, telling them to thank his mother before departing the temple. As he flies away, a single white wing could be seen.
Kazama Junに感謝しろ.
So Tekken 4. At long last, the three main Mishima men have all taken the stage. Kazuya surprisingly has a clean record for this game, only having attempted potentially filicide at the end of the game. While Jin remains our all-around good boy with a clean record, a safe bet really if you're betting on this video for some reason. Heihachi meanwhile has more charges. He raids an innocent place and likely leads to the death of innocents, prevents reforestation efforts to satiate his own means, attempted human experimentation, and sending people to attack and kidnap his grandson. I should mention as well, Steve Fox is introduced in this game, revealed to be the one child who survived Heihachi's super soldier experiments. Again, he's not really important to the video, but he gets a shout out too because I like him as well. Now that we know everything about Tekken 4, it's time to move on to Tekken 5, which thankfully begins right after. I just want to say for a moment, this intro is amazing. For once in their life, Kazuya and Heihachi team up to defeat an army of Jack robots which have been sent to kill them. Well, Kazuya started that quickly. The Jacks pile up on Heihachi, and at long last,
Heihachi Mishima is dead.
Well, not really. With Maru blowing up, Jinpachi returns to the scene, free from his prison but possessed by some demonic entity. We never know what this is just something that's possessing him. He takes control of the Zaibatsu once again in the event of Heihachi's death, and with that announces the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5, hoping for any fighter strong enough to kill him before he's able to commit any atrocities. He even sends a letter to his friend Wang Jingrei, telling him, please kill me, as if he couldn't get any better. Surprisingly, Kazuya and Heihachi don't do too much in this game. Heihachi is still dead, and Kazuya, who enters the tournament, leaves very early after finding out who were the ones that sent the Jacks to attack him, discovering it was G-Corp, the very same company who revived him. Working with previous employee and friend Bruce Urban, Kazuya murdered the G-Corp officials who ordered the attack on him, leaving him nice and ready for Tekken 6. This is mostly Jin's game, and Asuka as well, but again, she's only important in this game. We love you, Asuka Kazama. Tekken 9 will be your game, maybe. After Jinpachi's return, Devil Jin took over, and when Jin came to, he woke up in the forest completely grazed by his demonic counterpart. Knowing this, Jin enters the tournament to hopefully find an answer to his Devil Gene, and finds his rival, Hwoarang. The two have had a relationship since Tekken 3, Jin being on Hwoarang's mind all throughout Tekken 4, and this is their first meeting since the King of Iron Fist 3 2 years ago. With the stage set, the two have their battle, Hwoarang coming out on top. What he couldn't predict though was the emergence of Devil Jin once again. Devil Jin knocks Hwoarang out cold and leaves him comatose for the rest of the game. Jin makes his way up to the finals, finding Jinpachi and fighting him. He defeats his great grandfather, and with that, the Zaibatsu is his to claim. A big smile on his face because I'm sure it's gonna do great. So again, Tekken 5 is actually pretty tame. With Heihachi down for the count, there was nothing much he could do. Jinpachi didn't do anything either, in fact he wished for people to stop him. Kazuya meanwhile attacked the people that tried to kill him, which again, I don't really blame him. And Devil Jin attacked Hwoarang, and Jin himself killed Jinpachi, which is kind of what you wanted, so I won't count Jinpachi being killed, and with Devil Jin, it will come back around, just trust me. Quite a short segment, so it's time for Tekken 6. Jin's got a pretty clean record for now, so I do wonder what's going to happen next. Jin Kazama has started World War III. He uses the Tekken Force to sow chaos and unrest across the globe, affecting quite a few people. For example, there's Lily, whose father lost his oil refinery to the Zaibatsu, and his action, Jin's that is, causing the death of countless people, including the family of a reporter who is the narrator of Tekken 7, as well as the sister of my most wanted Tekken 8 character, Miguel Caballero Rojo. He's cool. Kazuya still has his plans of world domination and takes advantage of the poor PR the Zaibatsu has and begins fighting back against them, gaining public favour and making things easier for him to dominate the world when the time comes. To this end, he uses G Corporation, which he is now the head of after killing most of its officials. Keep in mind, people still don't like Kazuya. Well, some people. One of them is Leo Cleason, who is looking to avenge their mother, who was a G Corp operative killed by Kazuya. And as well, there's the aforementioned Eddie, who has joined the Tekken Force in exchange for Zaibatsu Tech hopefully being used to save his master, who had an incurable illness. There's also the neutral party Zafina, who refers to Jin and Kazuya as two dark stars who could end up destroying the world. Also Heihachi's here. Again, he doesn't do much, but he will be important next game. He has survived the events of Tekken 5 if that wasn't obvious, and is now looking for a way to take the Zaibatsu back from Jin. Due to Jin starting the World War, there is a new protagonist on the scene. Meet Lars Alexanderson, a member of the Tekken Force who decided to rebel against Jin, taking half of the Tekken Force with him. Together they formed a group known as Yggdrasil, and he himself is now the leader. The events of Tekken 6's scenario campaign tells us more about what happens. Lars finds a robot created by Dr. Bozgonovich, who once again found himself working for the Zaibatsu. Her name is Elisa, and during the operation, Lars loses his memory protecting her. The two work together, slowly hoping to find Lars' memories, as well as stopping the Zaibatsu from whatever they were planning. Along the way they also find Lee, who lends his aid to Yggdrasil, using the money from his company Violet Industries to financially back Yggdrasil. After saving their spy, Julia Chang, he also says he owes Lars a favour, something that will come into play later. Along the way, he finds Heihachi, who is just kicking back funnily enough, once again looking for a way to take the Zaibatsu back. Here Lars regains his memory. Lars reveals to Heihachi, Elisa, and most importantly us, that he is in fact a bastard child of Heihachi, conceived by him to make sure Kazuya didn't get the Devil King from him. That means Lars is now the 6th and final member of the video. Back to the story, Heihachi decides to not waste time and instantly shoots Heihachi in the head. Unfortunately, he's shooting a literal god among men, and Heihachi just eats the bullet. Lars departs, but not before promising to kill Heihachi, so we can add absent father to Heihachi's list too, and I guess attempted patricide, but again, like Kazuya, deserved. When Lars arrives at the Zaibatsu headquarters, he confronts Jin, who, as if he wasn't bad enough, reveals Elisa was a spy robot and forces her to shut down and reboot, completely subservient to Jin. He forces her to attack Lars before departing to the desert, and Lars teaming up with UN agent Raven, who's the guy that said,
Mishima is dead.
Lars confronts Jin at a temple in the desert, and we finally discover the reason Jin did all of this. Azazel the Rectifier or something, I don't know. This guy was a cheap boss. Lars and Raven defeat him in his temple, and on the way out, they see that ice gem that I hate. Kazuya was also here to take Azazel's powers, but he is stopped by Lars. He finds out they're brothers through their shared lightning powers, which is neat, and Kazuya is just like, the Mishimas hate each other and leaves, and that is genuinely him for the game. Upon leaving the temple, Jin is waiting there, and he orders Elisa to attack Lars. Lars defeats her, and due to the sustained damage, she passes away in his arms. Jin just makes fun of Lars for feeling sad that one of his best friends died. Not his only one, mind you, another one of Lars' best friends died early in the game. Jin is a mess in this game, but he has a cool coat at least. Jin fights Lars and Raven, and upon his defeat, he explains the reason he did all of this. Azazel said he was going to destroy the world, and that only a user of the Devil King could stop him. Azazel was able to talk in Jin's mind, telling him that only causing mass unrest and chaos would give him form. So, with all of that information, Jin knew what this meant, and he started a world war that worked. Azazel had awakened, and Jin just runs and one-shots him, defeating the beast and ending his role in Tekken 6.
It's not for me to judge if he was right or wrong. Maybe you're such a saint, you think you can. But somehow, I doubt it.
This quote is really stupid, by the way. I hate this. Shut up, Nina. Lars and Raven drive back, and while Raven gathers a UN team to check the situation, Lars delivers Elisa to Lee, who agrees to fix her up. Tekken 6 ends with Raven and the UN finding Jin in the desert, the devil's branding still on his arm. So Tekken 6 is insane. Jin's once clean streak is completely ruined by this game. Tekken 6 was damn near 17 years ago, but we're still suffering from this. So we can add War Instigator, which includes killing innocents, bombings, taking over nations, and forced coercion in Elisa. Those things are massive, and puts him right up there with his dad and granddad. Kazuya, meanwhile, doesn't do much. He kills the G Corp operatives and continues his plans of world domination, and attempts to seal Azazel's powers, which, again, trust me, is a problem. Heihachi meanwhile has one count of child neglect. That will get worse. Anyways, with that, on to the next game. With Jin out of the picture, Heihachi decides it's time to take the Zaibatsu back. In one insane evening, he defeats Nina Williams and takes his seat back. Heihachi and Kazuya opt to continue the war on each other, with Heihachi deciding on a method to completely defeat Kazuya and restore the Zaibatsu's good name. Hoping to locate Jin, what he doesn't realize is that Jin has already broken out of UN captivity. He breaks out of a helicopter in his devil form and spends the game basically wandering into a town and being saved by Lars. That's it for him really. Heihachi's plan was to expose Kazuya's devil form and began preparations to do so. He was going to use Jin for this same purpose, but was stopped by the combined efforts of Lars, Elisa, and Lee. Also, Akuma from Street Fighter is here, which is really cool, but unfortunately, there's not really any crimes that are linked to him. He's actually sent here by Kazumi, who years ago told Akuma to kill Heihachi and Kazuya. Why he waited this long, I don't know. What is the crime though comes a little later. Heihachi fakes his death after a fight with Akuma, and Akuma later on goes to challenge Kazuya at the top of G-Corp's tower. During the fight, Kazuya is pushed back, forced to assume his devil form, and Heihachi broadcasts it to the world, destroying the world's faith in G-Corp. He then drops a satellite laser on the tower, and I'm gonna be real, earlier we see Kazuya tell security to let Akuma up. But frankly, I just doubt he told everyone to evacuate the building because he didn't expect a satellite laser to be dropped on him. So Heihachi most likely just killed everyone in that building, except Kazuya. Kazuya survives and shoots down the satellite, making the public hate the Zaibatsu for supposedly destroying their own satellite, and probably killing some people in the process with the debris. Heihachi proceeds to tell the reporter, who's the game's narrator, might I add, about his history, and attempts to justify all he did, which... no. No. After this, Kazuya and Heihachi meet in the middle of a volcano, having a vicious battle where only one was walking out alive. The fight's really cool. Kazuya goes full devil mode while Heihachi only got more Heihachier. With both of them at their limits, Kazuya musters up all of the strength he has left and punches the last spark of life out of Heihachi. Which finally means Heihachi Mishima is dead! Finally! Add another count of patricide to the list. I didn't think we'd get this far. Heihachi Mishima is finally dead. Kazuya seals the deal by chucking him down the volcano, and hopefully that means he's gone for good. Tekken 7 ends with a grim showcase of Kazuya continuing the war on the world, with Lars telling Jin, who's woken up from his nap, that he has got to fix this, which Jin promises that he will. There's also a fight with Akuma, but Akuma doesn't appear in Tekken 8, so I don't know, maybe Kazuya just dreamed it up or Akuma's just dead. Before we summarize though, there are some characters new to Tekken 7 that give us more crimes not mentioned in the story mode. For Heihachi, there's the fact he has troops stationed in Poland that he just refuses to remove unless Lydia Sobieska, the Prime Minister, cooperates with him, which obviously she doesn't want to. Meanwhile, Kazuya had a man named Salim killed and covered up, seizing his oil company for his own means. This prompted his friend Shaheen to search for answers and hopefully kill Kazuya in the process. He also made G Corporation capture and experiment on a man, transforming them into the fighter/bioweapon Gygas. So in review, Jin doesn't do anything bad in this game, he's back to normal, except destroying a helicopter full of UN soldiers, but that's tame, surprisingly. Kazuya and Heihachi, meanwhile, both continuing the war Gin started. Like, I will be honest, both of them could have very well just been like, no, let's stop this, but no, they keep going. Kazuya also satellite strikes a building, most likely full of innocents, and attempts filicide twice. And also Akuma, because look how nice he is. Kazuya meanwhile destroys said satellite and finally kills Heihachi, while also continuing the war unopposed. There's also more assassinations and more human experimentation. Heihachi's massive reign ends with a bang, and now we finally move on to Tekken 8. Let's see what the final game has for us crime-wise.
Mishima 平八が消えてから半年、ようやく掴んだチャンスだ。ああ、今日こそ世界の敵を撃つ。すべてはあいつにかかっている。頼むぞ、風間じ。
6 months passed between this game and the ending of Tekken 7. Lars and Elisa decide they're just kill with Jin now, and the power of shonen love is crazy. If I was Elisa, I would probably not like the man who forced me to fight my first and closest friend. But that's not important. What is Jin doing this sick ass flip and tossing his motorcycle with the helicopter Kazuya's in. Probably destroying the innocent driver, but let's be real, we don't care about them until their cousin or something becomes a fighter in Tekken 9. Jin calls out Kazuya for being evil, to which Kazuya replies in possibly the funniest way by just replying, "Who started this?" Kazuya and Jin fight in the city, using their devil forms. Despite Jin's efforts, Kazuya takes the upper hand and beats Jin soundly. Taking the chaos as an opportunity, Kazuya shoots down a cluster of satellites which, while not manned, is still bad. But it's an amazing backdrop for Kazuya's next announcement. The King of Iron Fist 8. 6 and 7 were held, but were both unfinished and just weren't important to the video. The winner would hold infinite glory, and the losers have their country wiped off the map. After this, the game focuses on Jin, who's just trying to come to terms with the fact that this is all kinda his fault. Like, chin up, buddy. Just try not to commit any crimes in this game and you should be alright. Kazuya beat him so badly that his devil form is lost to him for now. Even after some training, with Lars and Elisa giving him a pep talk, which again, he's too nice for this. Jin realizes that he has to fight in the tournament to get his powers back, and risks potentially baiting Kazuya's trap if he had one, which wouldn't be the first time there's been bait in the King of Iron Fist. During the prelims, he meets this peppy girl called Reina who, god damn it, as well as Hwoarang. He's okay, and wants to beat Jin. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Hwoarang's skills bring Devil Jin's power back to the surface, and in a really nice reference to the Netflix adaptation Tekken Bloodline, Jin uses the Mishima style and delivers a 10-hit combo, winning him the fight. This doesn't contribute much to the video, but it's cool and I really like Hwoarang too. Before we continue, let me reintroduce you to Safina. To make it brief, Safina's the one who told Jin about Azazel, and after Jin fought Azazel in Tekken 6, he barely escaped in spirit. Safina, knowing this, sealed him into her arm, and that's where she is now. Cool? Cool. He's with Xiao Yu and Claudio, who is a member of the Archers of Sirius, a group made to exorcise demons. She'll be important later. The tournament proceeds as normal, so far. Jin fights Leroy Smith. Remember him? Heihachi instigated gang wars in his home, which Leroy eventually ended. Using his old man powers, he forces Jin to look into himself and gives him the greatest QuickTime event of all time. Right after this, chaos erupts. The United Nations work with either seal to attack Kazuya. Meanwhile, Zavina, Claudio, and Xiao Yu are rushing to... And he's got her! Kazuya breaks the seal on Zavina and resurrects Azazel. Before Zavina passes out, I thought they killed her frankly, he tells Jin to return home to Yakushima and that he is now the hope of the world. Kazuya meanwhile remembers that this video is about crimes and resurrects Azazel and proves that he is the better Tekken boss and easily disposes of him, finally absorbing his power and becoming true Devil Kazuya. Again with another little pep talk, the others agreed to hold back Kazuya, while Lily, who last I checked did not like Jin, escorts him quickly to Yakushima along with Asuka, Panda and Xiao Yu. The remaining fighters try and fight Kazuya, and Claudio is able to push him back, at the cost of his life. Which he survived. He's fine too. Kazuya's getting away with these a lot. Maybe he really is a nice guy. Instantly wanting to prove that wrong, Kazuya invades Yakushima, sending armies of Jack 7s and other soldiers with the sole purpose of killing Jin and his allies. This isn't providing any results, so Kazuya himself arrives and kills anyone unlucky enough to be caught in the blast range. G-Corp soldiers or Yggdrasil alike, if you're caught in it, you're dead. One of these people includes Reina, who takes the blast head on. Rest in peace to her, I get up, never mind. Kazuya eventually finds Jin, but is stopped by Lars, who holds him back as best as he can. See what I mean? Lars really is the nicest Mishima. Kazuya even During all of this, Jin realizes that he's done a ton of evil stuff. He's only like 21 or something, he's got time to fix up and believe in his heart. Devil Jin also reveals he's actually been protecting Jin this entire time, which actually checks out. Every time he's appeared, it's been when Jin's under intense duress, so that's actually neat. Another quick time event and a new angel wing later, Jin returns to the world of the living to fight Kazuya. The two are eventually matched until Kazuya just decides to go the Vegeta route and destroy Yakushima. This is only stopped by Jin, who again receives a pep talk from his mummy before assuming the brand new angel form, which is just so over the top. I love it. Jin and Kazuya fight in the stratosphere, and Jin purges both Azazel and the Devil Gene from him and Kazuya before the meteor re-enters Earth, crashing into the sea. You'd think Kazuya would just give up and go home. He's been using the devil since he was 5 practically, and nope! Kazuya, the complete badass he is, challenges Jin to a fight to the death. No devil powers, no angels, no nothing. Just a father, a son, something to prove. What might be some of my favourite fan service ever. Jin assumes Mishima style as well as his mother's Kazama style against Kazuya. The music even changes to Jin's Tekken theme and the credits theme of Tekken 2 respectively, both of which have appeared in the video. Kazuya responds by just beating the ever-loving hell out of Jin, delivering a punch that frankly should have reduced his head to a nice red paste. Jin gets up though, and using the power of friendship chooses to live despite all he's done and continues to fight. The two have a final clash that's all too familiar, and the winner is Jin. Jin spares Kazuya, taking his leave while someone approaches the defeated Kazuya, hoping to save him too. Meanwhile, Reina awakens, having survived her injuries. Nope, not doing this one. Reina is another one of Heihachi's bastard children, and seeks revenge for his death, having a devil form of her own. However, she hasn't done anything yet, so she doesn't count. So in review, Jin's actually pretty okay in this game, doing way more good by destroying Azazel, Kazuya, and potentially the Devil Gene itself, though the branding on his arm as well as Reina still being alive sparks a lot of doubt. Kazuya meanwhile threatens mass genocide multiple times with both the King of Iron Fist as well as the Yakushima Blast. He also causes chaos similar to what Jin did in Tekken 6, so like, why didn't Jin just shoot down satellite? You know what? Who cares? With Reina's announcement, Harada, Tekken's executive director, also revealed that Heihachi has a ton of bastard children. I'm going to go under the assumption that he had them for the same reason as Lars, which means Heihachi has countless amounts of child neglect. Anyways, with Tekken 8 done, we've now got to rank who was the worst out of the 6 Mishimas we've mentioned. So, let's begin. Lars Alexanderson takes the bottom spot, taking the initiative to instigate a bloodline rebellion against the Zaibatsu. He was the biggest threat to the Zaibatsu in Tekken 6, and being the main group opposing both the Zaibatsu and G-Corp in 7 and 8. He treated Elisa like a friend rather than a tool, saved Jin, who really didn't yet deserve it, and was loved enough by his team that they'd follow him into battle against insurmountable odds in Tekken 8. Really, when it comes to the Mishimas, Lars is the nicest of the nice. Honestly, 5 and 6 can be swapped around, but Lars debuted in Tekken 6, so I thought it'd be nice to have him there. Well, Lee really didn't do much until Tekken 6. He's opted to stop his revenge quest against the Mishimas and focused on building up Violet systems instead. With the immense money he had from that, he was able to provide financial assistance to Lars' cause, as well as helping save Elisa thanks to his understanding of robotics. Most of Lars' tech can be accredited to Lee, and frankly, he's been his biggest benefactor if you ask me. A lot of what Lars did couldn't have been done without Lee, and he's still finding ways to keep up with the devils of Tekken. All in all, I just think that makes Lee
Excellent.
Genpaki Mishima didn't really do anything. He fostered Mishima style, and his time as an antagonist wasn't really his fault. In Tekken 5's bad ending, which is also Genpaki's ending, he even teared up when he realized he couldn't be stopped. The only reason he isn't lower is because we just don't see enough good from him, which isn't a problem, mind you. We don't see any bad from him either. So take Solace Genpaki. You're part of the good half. If only you weren't trapped under a temple, really, you might have had a shot at 6 or 5. Ironically, at number 3 we have Jin Kazama. Trust me, the gap between 4 and 3 is immense. You may think he would be higher, and I wouldn't blame you, but bear with me. Jin did start World War 3, I'm not gonna even begin to justify that. However, the lack of assassinations, holding hostages, or human experiment is a lot, which is a low bar, but please, I'm working with straws here. Plus, the top 2 didn't do anything to stop the war once he was out of the picture. He only had a few months as the head of the Zaibatsu compared to the other 2 who had years. Him being a practically fresh face for every other game keeps him safe as well as being the main protagonist of Tekken 8, and using the entire game to basically do good. Him stopping Kazuya from destroying the world and directly saving Yakushima saves him big time from the top 2. So congrats, Jin! Believing in your heart allowed you to avoid the top spot. Again, ironically, number 2, because his time as a villain is Tekken 2, is Kazuya Mishima. I don't blame him for what he did, some of it. Heihachi and G-Corp frankly had it coming. Everything else though? Nah. Human experimentation, forcing people into cryosleep, animal experimentation, keeping the war going, world domination. Remember, after Tekken 7, Kazuya went unopposed and frankly had a stranglehold on the world, threatening mass genocide and was literally on the cusp of destroying Yakushima if not for Jin. He was extremely evil, but that's why we love him. But he's not as evil as number 1. Come on, we all knew it was him. Every problem can be traced back to this old bastard. At 30, he trapped his dad under a temple to make him starve to death, killed his wife in self-defense, dropped his kid down the cliff. Tekken 7's reasoning doesn't save him, he was 5! Instigated gang wars, assassinations, making kids fight for his wealth, invite your egg retrieval from an unconscious woman, child experimentation that killed all but one of them, basically releasing a mass murderer out onto the world in Ogre, shot his grandson in the head, kidnapping, raiding sites unjustifiably, stealing data to help the world for his own selfish means, more human experimentation, more kidnapping, refusing to pull out troops from places, continuing the war, and oh yeah, the satellite laser on G-Corp's building. Damn near every Tekken character has an issue with Heihachi for one reason or another. And I have to give him credit, he did this with no devil gene or nothing. But he had 2 bears and was nice to shout you, so I guess that's something. Unless you count Reina, who knows, maybe there's an update video a year away. That's all the main Mishimas for now. So I said in the video's intro we wouldn't count any non-canon endings as they obviously didn't happen, but I would do a lightning round to see if they would potentially change the positions. Now that we're at the end of the video, let's do that. For Heihachi, we have throwing your grandson off a helicopter, capturing both your son and grandson and using them for your experiments, strapping your dad, grandson, and son to a rocket ship and sending them up into space. And then in the next game, sending your son and grandson plummeting down from space. Just wonderful. Kazuya, meanwhile, has using your dad as a shield, being absent in Tekken 3, thank God, killing both Heihachi and Jin, and basically taking over the world as a devil, killing your granddad mercilessly, beating up your son and practically taking over his business. Classic Kazuya. While nearly all of Jin's endings are canon anyway, I will give one mention to Devil Jin's ending in Tekken 8, where he practically destroys the world, mainly because the UN seem to have killed Lars, Eliza, and Lee all together. For Lee, we have executing your dad and brother, making your dad a test subject to your combat robot and subjecting him to a ton of physical abuse. Using your dad as your brand new slave basically and having him walk around with his old man cheeks out. Using your brother, nephew, and dad as fireworks, and then putting them all into a testing room and then blowing them up after. The only one who doesn't have a bad ending that is non-canon is Lars, and he just dreamed about being in a family with the Mishimas and hated it, and Heihachi still found a way to be a dick in that one. If we were to count these endings as canon and use them in our video, then honestly Jin would have completely decimated this list, purely for the fact Tekken 8's ending has him destroying the world, while everyone else really just stays the same, except Lee might have less of a case for being tired of loss, but even then, he was kind of doing it to the people that deserved it, so I can give him the pass. With that, that's all the main Mishimas for now. So again, congrats Heihachi for being the worst of the worst. the power of being old. I hope you learned something about the Mishimas, and I really hope I got everything as well. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments, and hopefully I haven't, but if I've missed enough, I'll make an update video that might change the rankings, but hopefully that's a matter of if. Comment, like, subscribe, all that jazz if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Also, I just realized, since Heihachi is dead, that makes Kazuya the winner by default. Let's go, Kazuya! What do you have to say to everyone?
俺は全てを手に入れる